today we're going to go, as always, over a topic that I see out and about in the community quite often. And then we're going to turn around and answer all the questions. I have a few people here in the chat checking us out. I appreciate you being along with us for today. Today, we're going to talk to you about the idea of the DMs. DMs is such a touchy, tough subject. I'm seeing more and more people, especially like in the LinkedIn space, abusing the DM. And it's a great way to get people turned off, to make people upset, to not get any sales, to ruin relationships. Like if you friend somebody and they DM me right away with their sales pitch, block, done, not happening. So let's talk about great ways to do this. And now, as you know, the Live Local, we're into more marketing. That's what we do. So all the strategies we're going to go over today are going to be for people that are warm, like you've met them before, and or lukewarm, like you know them, kind of know them. We have maybe a friend of a friend, that kind of scenario where you want to reach out and reestablish that connection. And you want to maybe perhaps exchange contact information, be in their sphere. You can be in their sphere and just make a nice friendly introduction of yourself. None of the stuff that we do is going to be cold. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to do any cold outreach. So if that's the way you want to do it, you can go over some of the things we talk about and kind of customize it to fit your cold outreach, but that's not really what we're going to do. It's going to be about maintaining your audience and making some introductions to people you kind of know a little bit, right? No cold. Good. With that in mind, here we go. The problem. The problem is most people use the DM like a cold pitch in a private room. They lead with what they want instead of what value can be added. Ultimately, the message is seen, ignored, muted, or mentally filed under never again or block them. So we're going to go over three top possible solutions, and then we're going to come up with examples to each of these solutions. The first one is going to be signaling before you send. When you signal before you send, it's you show up in their world before you show up in their inbox, right? For example, the comment bridge. Leave a thoughtful comment on their post or DM later on with, hey, I didn't want to hijack your post or I didn't want to make it personal, but what about that? What part about that client follow up are you doing manually or with your system? In this particular example, what we have is somebody has a comment or they reshare or they interact with some kind of social media and they don't make it about them at the moment. They just show themselves, hey, I'm going to reshare this. That is my favorite. Resharing is my favorite. It gets the person's attention. It shows you that you are there to help them. You can even comment or tag a friend who you also think would like that information. And when you do that, you're engaging. You're bringing attention to yourself. Like, hey, I really am involved, and I like the stuff you're sharing with you. So making myself known, and I'm going to follow up later because once they see you and see that you've reshared something or you've made a comment about something, you're kind of familiar to them, and it helps kind of soften the outreach. And then when you do the outreach in the DM, be sure it's not salesy. Don't, hey, I saw your post. Can you buy my book? Or I think we're going to align, and can I have your email? Things like that turn people off right away. You want some, again, soft tactics. You need patience. The DM is not a place to make a hard sell right away. And if that's what you're trying to do, it's never going to work. It's patience, it's soft selling, it's adding value. And that's what the DM is most effective. Okay? So when you go into the DM, so you make a reshare or you make a comment or you tag a friend, and then a few days later, you enter the DM and you say, hey, listen, I didn't want to make that my question personal, or I wanted to reach out to you directly. Hope that's okay. I have a few questions about your systems, or I have a few questions about your business, or I have a few questions about what you're doing. And don't ask for anything, engage with them, and be patient. Okay? And then the second example, the share and the credit. Share their post to your story or their feed or tag them, and then later on, DM them. I like the point you made. It was too good not to share with others in my audience. We appreciate you. Little stuff like that. So the other thing I always like to do is I go to events. I find out who's in the events. I find them on social media, and I can start weeks in advance resharing their content, interacting with some of the content. So when I finally do see them in person at the event or wherever we're doing, then oh yeah, oh you're the guy that's been sharing my stuff. Yeah, I love what you're doing with this, and I love what you're doing. It's really the live local way, and we really like to share the businesses, and it's a lot of fun. So I appreciate all that you do. Again, I'm not doing a hard sell. It just makes it a little less awkward when I meet them in person. So that kind of strategy works as well. So that's it. That's number one is the signal before you send. Get a little soft intro of yourself. And that is by far the easiest because, it's low barrier of entry, just sharing some content, making it easy on yourself. Good. The second one is add value and provide connections. What that one is you share or give the person something they could find useful. Basic, real easy. Creative examples. Hey, I just finished my podcast with XYZ and you're in that same space. I thought I'd share it with you. Hopefully you can find it useful, right? Or similarly, like, hey, I see you just had a post that you were having a hard time with marketing. I just saw a podcast on XYZ. Here's the link. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it seems like it's something that can work for you, right? Or as a creator, I know I'm always looking for content. Here's an article that aligns with what you're doing, what you're saying, or some of the content you've been putting out. Just thought you'd enjoy it or find it useful, right? Some people reciprocate to that pretty well. Some people, a little standoffish with it, but it works because you're trying to add value. You want to see them do well. It's an act of kindness and generosity, and so it usually lets down that barrier of trust. And then 3 days later, 4 days later, check back in. Hey, did you get a chance to check out that podcast, or what'd you think of our article? Or I'd love to be able to see what you said about the article and maybe exchange some ideas, or just do the soft follow up. What'd you think of it? Ask for their opinion, see if it was helpful, see if it was useful. Things like that would be a great opportunity to follow back up once you've added value and given them something good. Again, you're not being salesy. You're just giving them something that they might need and then following back up to see what they thought about it, getting some feedback from them. Okay. So there you go. There's the first two. The first one, again, is going to be that signal before they send. And the second one's going to be adding value and provide connections and following up. Third one is a friend of a friend. And this one can be a little, you got to be really navigate this one. You got to be real skilled for this one. What it is, when you see someone in a post or a friend that aligns with your audience, the fact that you share a mutual relationship with someone connects and helps bridge the trust gap and a reason to make contact or collaboration. Example, the Softgate. So I just watched an episode at XYZ that you were in, and I appreciate it when you said blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I wanted to connect so I could learn more from your content. And you got to do that if you really genuinely do it, because so many people in LinkedIn right now are using some of that type of thing. So you have to actually mean it if you're going to do it. Like, I really want to know more. Um, I really want to make a connection, and here's some things that I do. Here's some things that you do, and maybe add a little bit more to that outreach that shows that you're serious about it. Or even the future anchor. I see and this is what I do personally pretty frequently when I have friends that want to connect with other friends. I know a couple of examples of people that have definitely reached out recently. Oh, I see so and so's in your feed. Do you really know them? Can you connect us? And I do that all the time. It's a little bit tougher, I think, sometimes for us to ask. But as soon as you reciprocate, as soon as you show that you're that kind of connector, it makes it a lot easier. But the future anchor, I see that you're friends with XYZ, and if you have a moment, I'd love an introduction. I see that they align with my values and can be a great connection. And always reciprocate. Always. Like, that's wonderful. Yes, I'll introduce you. And then make sure when you do that introduction that you say why they're good connections. So that way you're not just making random connections. There has to be a reason, like so and so does CRMs and this other person does marketing. Therefore, you think it'd be a great collaboration. I hope it works out for you too and connect people up. You can do that same way. You can say, listen, I see so and so's in your feed. Do you really know them? I do this and this. I think somebody like that would also be a great collaborator for me. So the soft introduction, it works because it builds trust. It makes the connections you're looking to make, right? So the three again is signal before you send. The second one is add value and provide connections. And then the third one is the friend of a friend, right? Now your call to action is to use one of these strategies per follow up this week. Try to strengthen your DM skills. Make sure there's soft skills. Make sure you are giving value, that you're not asking for anything, that you're not selling anything, that you're not being salesy or pushy. None of that stuff. You make the ask. Eventually, at day 3, day 4, day 5, or once you've had a good conversation, then is when you make the ask. That's when you want to get their email or exchange emails, right? You want to add them to your sphere. You want to add them to your universe, so that way you can stay in touch with them on a more regular basis, right? And that's the whole part of the DM, is to get in touch, let them remember you, and get them into your sphere, so that way you can continue adding value because you have systems in place that you can continue doing things to help them out. A great one that I use after like the fourth or fifth or the back and forth is, hey, I enjoy what you're doing. Do you have a newsletter or sign up sheet or anything that we can exchange contact and stay connected? Right? You don't ask for their email, right? You're like, hey, listen, I want to be a part of your sphere. Do you have a newsletter? I'd love to exchange information. So once you've made that soft introduction through one of the three solutions that we just went over, and you've gone back and forth a little bit, then you want to make the ask, but be sure the ask is a collaboration as well. Make sure you're adding value. You're not just, hey, give me your email, I want to start sending you stuff. Again, that ruins the entire relationship. That's it's made all that work that you've just put in just to nothing because you've lost the trust again. You want to continue to be collaborative. Hey, do you have an email or a newsletter or something I can sign up for? Because I'd love to exchange information. Here's my email. I do that all the time. Or I say, hey, listen, I see you really love local business stuff as much as I do. If you go into the newsletter, I have stuff every week I send out that's only local oriented because I know that's the kind of person you are. And that way you can give me some suggestions and you can give me some feedback of the types of stuff that you think you'd enjoy. Again, you're asking them for like a soft intro, soft information. I'd love to get your feedback on this, right? It's not, hey, I'm going to try to sell you something someday, so give me your email. It's, I'd love your feedback. I'd love to exchange information. You're making these introductions. So be careful, be skillful when you get into the DMs. And there's just some 3 tips to help you out. And there's many, many more, but those are the 3 that I like to use the most. And those are the skills that I like to use to stay in front of people. And I share content often. I use the DMs all the time. You know this, you've taken my course. You know that one of the strategies I use is taking clips of the business videos and sharing it in the DMs with people like, hey, Bob, I know you really love food trucks. Here's the food truck video. I do that pretty frequently. Or here's a workshop. I want to go over some of the skills you just asked me about last Thursday. There's lots of different ways to add value, to add content to them. But if it's a lukewarm or somebody you're trying to meet, these are the 3 strategies we just went over today. And there's so many more in the course and so many more in our membership that you can easily dominate the DMs and stay in front of people and use them wisely so that way you don't get blocked. Right? So hopefully that was enough. Hopefully that was helpful. And without further ado, we got some questions already filing in here. So let's start getting to the questions. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this information helpful. Each week, I'll pick a different topic I see happening out in the world of marketing and go over it with you to help you become a better warm marketer. Now, you noticed in this episode, we cut off the Q&A portion of it because that's for members only. To become a member, go to livelocalwarmmarketing.com. You can sign up for that first month using the code ALWAYSWINNING for $2. And then every Tuesday, you can bring your own personal marketing questions we can answer and work on together. You'll also get access to the resource library. It has plenty of videos that are about warm marketing tips, strategies, things to help you become a better marketer as well. We have monthly workshops. And of course, we have the weekly content calendar that's uploaded every Monday that takes one more thing off your plate because it gives you a theme and goes over the types of content you could be posting throughout the week. All of that for $2 in the first month. LiveLocalWarmMarketing.com. Become a member today.